Expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
The seventh 007 novel was published in England and America in 1959. Fleming got the idea for Goldfinger during an April 1956 stay at Enton Hall, a health spa in central England, where he met a gold broker who educated him on the trade in the world's most coveted metal. 3 years after the publication of Goldfinger came the surprise success of Dr. No, and later, From Russia with Love.
When we did Dr. No, I remember, we all had very limited resources. The film was, I think, $900,000.
Producers Albert R. Broccoli and Harry Saltzman set a budget of $3 million for Goldfinger. To bring Bond number 3 in on time, the producers selected a seasoned pro, Guy Hamilton.
Guy was always going to be a director of Bond sooner or later. Then Guy came in and did that one. Some people think that's the best of all the Bonds.
Hamilton had something else, a relationship with the film's star, Sean Connery.
I'd known Sean long before he made Bonds. We had a little club called the Buxton that we used to meet each other. Goldfinger was a bit of a challenge because I began to sense that Bond was becoming a Superman and using the things that worked so wonderfully well in the 2 previous films. It was then not too difficult to have a target and know what we were trying to do.
Once again at the typewriter was Dr. No and From Russia with Love screenwriter Richard Maybaum, collaborating with Oscar-winning British screenwriter Paul Dane.
In Goldfinger, we decided to have a little mini-adventure at the start of it, which had nothing to do then with the story that followed.
It seemed to me that if we could do the pre-credit sequence, which is a wonderful piece of nonsense. I mean, where you can go swimming with a seagull on top of your head and you can unzip your suit and have a white tuxedo underneath. If that makes you laugh, let's all now, after the credit titles, go for a great big ride and have fun.
The guy that was originally cast to do it in his spare time was cat burglar, so which was all right, but unfortunately he was caught in the act the day before he had to shoot the scene. I got the part merely on the fact that I had, according to the makeup guy, high cheekbones, and I could be made up to look like a Mexican more than anybody else. They said, right, well, you're doing the fight. And I said, oh, what fight? As the fire hits the water, the flash bulbs go, the UV lamp comes on, and the steam comes out. Well, the force of the steam, the hose pipe wrapped itself around my leg, gave me a sort of a second-degree burn. Everybody thought it was down to my acting, see, but it wasn't. It was down to sheer pain, actually.
Other actors had their own challenges to face.
At the rehearsals, I was working at a desk, and Bond comes in, and I got up to greet him. And Guy said, no, you don't take any notice of this man, you don't like him. And I thought, well, but this is Bond, this is James Bond, and I'm just an ordinary civil servant. I must admire him like everybody else does. And he says, no, of course you don't. He doesn't treat your gadgets with any respect at all.
Morning, Q.
Morning, 007. This way, please.
We're out busy this morning.
But there is one gadget the whole world comes to respect.
I was a sports car freak in those days, so I got rid of a lot of my inhibitions when it came to redesigning the Aston Martin.
When we came to do Goldfinger, there was a debate on what car to use, whether it should be the Bentley.
Where's my Bentley?
Oh, it's had its day, I'm afraid.
But it's never let me down.
M's orders, 007. You'll be using this Aston Martin DB5 with modifications.
I thought it was an elegant-looking car, and I remember in Switzerland driving it up and down there, impressed a lot of people. And but I think that its setting in the story and in the film gave it a more unique quality than the car actually possessed.
The management of Aston Martins were very, very sceptical about us. And they said, well, what do you want to do with the car? I told them briefly, and they said, well, you won't do it. You won't get any more equipment in this car. It's absolutely loaded as it is. So I said, just give me a break. Let me do it. I'm pretty sure I can do it.
Aston Martin executives loaned the Goldfinger team the development prototype, DP216-1, destined to become a legend.
The first thing we're going to do, we're going to make a hole in the roof for the ejector seat. And I said, I will make the first hole, and I can remember it now, putting a hole through this lovely Aston Martin, my pride and joy.
Back in those days, we didn't have the electronic devices that we have nowadays, where we could have done things, made things work electronically now. In the old days, we had to do it by pneumatics, didn't we?
Obviously, couldn't go around with the real machine guns in the car, but for distant shots, we had the gas guns operating.
The rear lights that dropped down and the oil slick that came out of it was done for real, funnily enough, with a big container in the back of the car. To get the tank in there, the bulletproof shield had to be taken out and then, of course, put back after that shot for the bullet effects. So there was never a sort of a dull moment.
I was having a lot of trouble with parking tickets in London around that time, so my ambition was to have a revolving number plate, you know. So that was my contribution to the supercar.
The actual tyre slashing apparatus we didn't do on the car as such. All that touching was done actually in the studios. I built a rig on rails, built the sides of the car in fiberglass, both the Aston Martin and the Mustang.
Double blowout. I've never seen one of these before.
And what about the DB5's pièce de résistance?
I went home and I got a telephone call saying, would I go back to the studios next day? And I thought, oh, good, I got an extra bit in the film. And when I got there, they gave me this bit about the ejector seat.
If you take the top off, you'll find a little red button. Whatever you do, don't touch it.
No, why not?
Because you'll release this section of the roof and engage and fire the passenger ejector seat. Whoosh.
Ejector seat? You're joking.
And of course it gave me the chance of producing, I suppose, one of the most famous lines.
I never joke about my work, 007.
The chassis would have taken a proper ejector seat and the guy next, the driver, would have got burnt anyhow. So I used compressed air on that and a lightweight dummy.
The whole thing works. I mean, it's just, it's a dream. It's your dream. Wouldn't it be fun to have a car like that?
All this gadgetry was created and installed in just 6 weeks. Other equipment was built into the car, but never used in the finished film, like front and rear overriders, good for ramming enemy vehicles. Bond's secret arsenal also included a weapons tray located underneath the driver's seat, a nail chamber that could spit out nasty triple-spike clusters, and a radio telephone hidden inside the driver's door paneling.
And what's really amusing, actually, is that there must be 50 around the world claiming to be the one, and people keep paying to see it.
Even Bond's Aston Martin proved no match for the movie's sublimely evil villain, Auric Goldfinger.
Oh, you're looking, Mr. Bond, at an industrial laser beam which emits a new and extraordinary light, not to be found in nature. Natural light, you see, being multicolored, widens and weakens as it travels from the source. Laser light, being of one color, never widens, never weakens. It can
Project a spot on the moon. Or at closer range, cut through solid metal. I will show you.
Gert Frobe, I'd seen him, or Cubby had seen him and showed him to me in a German film where he was playing a sort of child molester, and he was absolutely wonderful. Yes, he's the perfect Goldfinger. Does he speak English? Yeah, I've spoken to his agent, he speaks English. Gert Frobe arrived day one on the set. How do you do? I'm very happy to meet you. That was all right. Then I talked to him and I realized he didn't speak a word of English.
The very first scene I shot on the balcony with Gert. And Gert had to start the scene. And he said, Operation once English lands on will house in